like I said this, I continue to say this, like process, we're in process, like we're constantly in process. I'm still learning that. I've gotten much better than I was, 10 years ago. But like, I still, just because I cut alcohol out of my life, I still have to deal with life, and I still have tendencies, and I still have things that I do, emotions and stuff that I'm learning how, to like operate in. And it's tough some days,
This is the Knockin' Doorz Down podcast. If you're looking to hear stories of hope, inspiration, and turning your greatest adversities into your advantage, well, you're in the right place. I'm your host, Jason LaChance, and through my addiction recovery and struggles with anxiety and depression, I dug into my passion of speaking with people who have transformed their lives. And while you're checking Knockin' Doorz Down out, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. And if you get a lot out of this podcast, share with a friend. And don't forget the archive of interviews we have. Bam Margera, Brandon Novak, Kat Von D, Charlie Sheen, Edward Furlong, Kelly Osbourne. The list goes on and on of amazing guests that have been on the podcast, sharing how they have found purposeful lives. Speaking of purpose, how about a lifestyle brand with purpose? 5150 LTM. That's right. Not only is it a lifestyle brand that can fit whatever it is you're trying to achieve in life, but they give back to the community. And you, the listener of Knockin' Doorz Down, get 20% off every time you shop at 5150 LTM. All you have to do is use the code KDD20 at checkout and get 20% off. And how does 5150 give back to the community? Portions of the sales benefit the Carlos Vieira Foundation. Their 3 amazing programs: the Race to End the Stigma, the Race for Autism, and the Race to Be Drug-Free. More on the Carlos Vieira Foundation, go to carlosvierafoundation.org. Shane Raymer of That Sober Guy podcast. Thanks for joining me on Knockin' Doorz Down, brother.
Yes, Jason, great to be here. Was so excited when I got to have you on That Sober Guy just a few episodes back. So always enjoy chatting with you. And I mean, we're already starting off to a fun, good start. Joking and having some fun, both California guys, which I always love too, man.
And sober dads. So we got a lot of those same issues we're confronting. But we were joking, having a laugh before about, and I think it's important to anyone's recovery. I know you've seen it with the work you've done. You've coached a lot of people, but there becomes kind of a stuckness for some. Yeah. And I was telling you how a gentleman who's become a mentor really challenged me to question the person I need to become to reach the successes that I wanted to. And I think a lot of people, even in sobriety, they still get stuck in the isms. And I realize that's a lot of the shit that I have to confront still.
Yeah. I definitely relate to being stuck or feeling stuck. I mean, I felt stuck back when I was drinking even, at certain points, like I felt stuck and lost and all that. And then even in, since I quit drinking, there's been moments of the same, feeling stuck as a dad, as a husband, as a friend, as someone trying to run a business, or, and also an artist. Like I'm an artist, I'm a creator. Like there's a big part of my heart that is very passionate about creating stuff, whether it's conversations, music. I even still will sit down and draw. My son loves to draw. And so I'll sit down and draw with him sometimes. And I forget how much I love to draw. I used to do that a lot back in the day. But even, through any of that stuff, like you mentioned the success, and we were kind of talking before, like, I think anybody who relates to that or is going through that, you have to define, like, what is success to you? Like what is it? What does it look like? What are the goals that you want to meet? And I think that's going to be a little bit different for everybody. I also think that success is an illusion sometimes.
Yeah.
The first thing I think of is like that old cartoon or whatever of like the guy sitting on the donkey and like dangling the carrot, and you're just going and going and going. And like, we're pushing, we got to do this, we got to do more, we got to do that. And that is, I really feel like sometimes God just wants us to sit back and do nothing, and not from a lazy perspective, but more from a trusting perspective and an organic perspective, I guess, in complete reliance on the process and complete reliance on me doing the next right thing, which will eventually lead to whatever that success, I've kind of put that in quotes, like what that is. Does that make sense? I don't know if you know that or whatever, but
yeah, no, 100%. And you know, and I'm glad you were going where you work, because, you know, I mean, you've listened, we've talked separately, you know, one of my big slogans, we'll have shirts coming soon, everybody.
Nice.
No outside solutions to inside problems. And sometimes even when we examine success, we don't look at it from a value set standpoint and personal. We look at it from external ones of, you know, wanting to keep up with the Joneses, or what we see comparing our insides to other people's outsides on social media and things like that. And it's dangerous. You know, I was, as I was telling you before we started recording, doing a lot of self-examination, putting notes in my phone, and was thinking about the way in which I love, and are my words matching what I'm doing? And so it dawned on me, like, you know, sometimes we got to examine things. And this is actually one of the things that I love about what you do, like your content that's out there. Turn the volume off, and it's just as authentic. And sometimes we have to do that with people, is turn off the sounds, eliminate the words, and see how they've really conducted themselves, because so much stuff that's out there is bullshit, and we're striving to compete with somebody else's lie. You know, my brother's telling me, you know, he's at some resort talking to some guy and his wife, and, you know, they're doing all the pictures and everything else, and then his card gets declined to buy their drinks.
Yeah.
You know,
see, the way my bank account works is that Kevin Hart skit. The way my bank works is oh man. But dude, so you just, you know, and you hit a couple things right on the head, like with social media, keeping up with the Joneses. Perception versus reality is very twisted, especially in the culture and the you know, the world that we live in today. What you see is a lot of the time not the actual reality. And that goes for a lot of different things. For me personally, I don't watch the news. I don't watch mainstream news. And without going too deep down the rabbit hole, because well, I'll just leave that right alone there. I was going to say something else, but I would rather get into what you were saying about the success piece of this, because I have a good example that it's so crazy. We're talking about this, and I didn't even think I would ever be able to share this, at least not this recent, is, so I had a lot of, and I'm gonna be real vulnerable here with this. I had a lot of insecurities about, like, not doing enough, right? I'm not doing this. I'm not doing that. This person's, you know, reach is huge, and this was the one, this person is writing a book. They're doing a book. How many people are writing books right now? Right. So I had this thing. It's like, well, and I had a lot of people ask me, why don't you write a book? Are you going to write a book? Well, yeah, you know, I'm going to. And so there was a lot of insecurities that started coming up. I'm not doing enough. I need to be writing a book. I need to be doing this. I need that mentality. It basically just destroyed me, really, to be honest. I mean, maybe destroyed is a little bit of a overbearing word for that, but it didn't motivate me in a positive perspective to go write a book. It just my wheels were spinning, and then it didn't work, because I was comparing. I was being down on myself, I was being hard on myself. And here was the issue I realized. And so recently I did start writing a book, and I'm like, and I can say that now, like, okay, and here's why. I was so concerned about writing the book because I felt like I needed to keep up and write a book, or I could, you know, have an impact or whatever it was. And I was almost obsessed with the finished product of writing a book. What would the cover look like? What would this look like? How, would it sell? Would people buy it? Would I be able to speak? You know, now I have something to speak on. All those things, right? There's nothing wrong with any of that stuff, by the way. I don't think necessarily that I wasn't like mad at myself for having those thoughts, but here's what I was missing. I was missing embracing the process. I was missing enjoying the moments, the process of waking up at 5 a.m. and getting my coffee and taking a dump till 5:30, my mind right, and then going and praying, and reading for 30 minutes. And then at 6 o'clock on the dot, my alarm goes off, and my goal from 6 to 7 is to write 2 shitty pages a day. I just need to write. I don't need to worry about the perfection of it and what it looks like. And that came from some advice from a publisher I had years ago. Just write 2 shitty pages a day. That's all you got to do, and map it out, have a plan. Okay, hey, it'd be great to get 120 pages in 3 months or whatever, something simple. And most importantly, enjoying that process of doing that and being in the moment with it and not worried about the outcome, the expectations of it. And so, yeah, that's really just come upon me even in the past week, just some of that, like that's what I think I was missing. And so I think I can take that same concept and I can apply it to being a father, with my son. It's not about, winning the championship in Little League or what. It's about the process of spending time with him and being with him and enjoying it, versus just fixated on the outcome or the expectations.
Yeah. And it's so easy to do. I mean, and I know with kids, I have it too, where I got to catch myself and check my shit. I'll see it, like my youngest, incredibly talented artist, drawer, painter, musician, all that. My son, my oldest, more intellectual and things. And I'll formulate these ideas in my head. Well, if I guide it in this way, then they'll be able to achieve this. And it's like, look, quit being an asshole. You don't even know really what they want to do. Like, I mean, even my daughter has said, Dad, I love doing like this painting and stuff, but I don't see it as a profession, but it will always be a release. And it's like, oh yeah, I got to check my stuff just because I'm like formulating some entrepreneurial idea of like how you can do this. And she's great at recreating stuff and sculpting, And it's like, no, that might just be like you were saying, drawing. For me, same, building Legos, like, I mean, all that stuff that's just like, okay, just go through the joy of it or the cathartic process. Cause I've had people the same, like, where's the book? And it's like, I got to stop writing it for anyone else but myself.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think the hard thing and a challenge for guys such as you and myself, you've been in this space of helping people much longer than I have, but there's some pressures as some people look to us as a leader, for a lack of a better term, and we're accessible to them. And so it's kind of like, hey, you've helped me along. And I know their intent is, kind of helping us too and figure out where we can be of service. But there's a lot of mental challenges then that come with that. Or even asking, do I want to do that shit? I don't know that I do. I just don't.
A buddy of mine, Buddy C, just such a great dude. He kind of helped me early on with something with that. And it helped me to get out of my own head and thinking that I have the answers for everyone and that I'm going to be able to help everyone. And, I need to do this and I need to step up and be the guy. And he's like, hey, it was real simple. He goes, hey, if you don't help that person, God will just send someone else. So don't worry about it. I was like, so in other words, I'm not that friggin' important. You know what I mean? Like I'm not, the pressure isn't on me. All I'm going to do is do the next right thing in that moment. And I don't always do the right thing, by the way, because I'm human and I still make plenty of mistakes and I don't always make the perfect decision, and that's fine. But I try to get a little bit better each time, when I do make a mistake. Like I just shared this. I was on a podcast just the other day and I shared this. Like I had, my son was getting ready for practice. It's been super hot. I know you're down in the Fresno area. It's super hot down there, just like it is up here in Vacaville. It was like 105 the other day. And so it's like, he has to be at practice at 5. It's like 4:56. We're still at the house and he's struggling to get his shoes on. For some reason, he's wearing his Jordans because we're in an indoor hitting facility that day, baseball barn, which is awesome. And so he's got to, you know, put his shoes on, and it's hot. He can't get them on. He's getting pissed off. I run up, dude, where are you? Let's go. I'm already in the car. And I can't get my shoe on, Dad. And I'm like, okay. And so I'm like trying to get his shoe on. For some reason, this damn shoe will not go on. I can't get the heel back on, right? So I start getting pissed. I'm sweating, you know, and then I snatch the shoe, and I'm like getting pissed off. And then he gets pissed off at me and like, Dad, I hate you. He gets all mad, you know, and like, and then he runs downstairs and goes, and I had to be like, oh my, like, what are you doing right now? Like, stop, like, just stop. So like pause, right? I had to pause and just like kind of wipe my head because I'm sweating profusely. I'm even sweating right now because it's hot. and I go downstairs, and it was the best moment. Like, even though that sucked and I didn't like that, I'm so glad that happened, because it gave me an opportunity to say, hey, bud, I'm really sorry. Like, I really lost my cool right there. I blew up. I'm hot. I'm frustrated, just like you were, you know, and I'm not perfect. And I'm really sorry about that. Let's get your shoe on right now. I think here's what we have to do. All I had to do was undo the top lace. That was it. And open it up a little bit. But I wasn't in the right state to do that, because I was just so frustrated that my mind wasn't like critically thinking, like, do this. It was just acting all on emotion. So having to like be able to recognize that is, you know, no, I guess number one. But even though I messed up there, I got an opportunity to apologize to my boy, and he's hopefully understanding it, like, hey, like, we all make mistakes. Even Dad screws up sometimes. And then now next time when I start sweating and I start getting frustrated, my goal is to, you know, I remember that and I go, okay, pause, take a break for a minute. And you know, this ain't the first time this has happened, by the way, like something like this. Sure. So it's a constant process of trying to learn and be great, you know, have great, like, Jesus has mercy on me and grace on me every day for all the dumb stuff I've done. And so like, I need to have the same on myself, and it doesn't give me a free pass to go, you know, do stupid stuff either or make excuses for it. But it does enable me to go, man, I'm human. Like, we don't have to, we're so hard on ourselves. You know, I'm my own worst enemy. I don't need to do that. It doesn't benefit me. It doesn't benefit my family. Like, there's no, you know, there's no positive, like, fruit from that.
Knockin' Doors Down by Carlos Vieira. Now available wherever you get audiobooks.
I wasn't done partying, and I didn't want the binge to end. I think I knew that when I finally got home, I'd have to face what I had done, and I wasn't ready to do that. Being responsible for my actions wasn't something I was looking forward to. I had abandoned my wife and baby, my family, and my business. I wanted to avoid the shame of returning to what I had left behind. Even though I was not yet going home, I wasn't sure I had enough resources to continue the binge.
Click the link in the podcast description to find out more. And you're right. It is. I think people sometimes don't see the beautiful opportunity, and thank you for sharing that. Because there really was that beautiful opportunity to make that amends with your son, him learn a lesson, you learn a lesson. And that's the beautiful thing about memory, is that's why we have one, to store these kind of things and situations back there, that hopefully the next time we don't go into asshole mode of fight or flight. And, you know, our goal, because I think you're like me, like, I hate when I'm late and I want to be there. And, you know, it's such a huge priority for me, because I used to be such a jackass when I was drinking. I just wouldn't show up at all. And so it's like, I want to be reliable, dependable.
It brings up some of those old habits and things that I used to do, and sounds like that you used to do. And so, yeah, it's very important to us to be on time and to show up, you know. And one of the things too with Cash is like, you know, and he even said too, and he doesn't ever say, I think that's the first time I've ever heard him get so mad where he said he hated me. I hate you, Dad. And he ran downstairs, you know. And because we were both just very frustrated and hot. I think the heat doesn't help stuff. Hot, sweaty, and you're pissed off, you know. But after I had said that to him, he goes, and Dad, I'm sorry too. I don't hate you. I don't hate you, Dad. And I said, but I know you don't hate me. Like, I get it. You're frustrated. But I see him, I see him getting frustrated and having some of the same characteristics that I have when I get frustrated. Whether it's with his sister can kind of pick on him sometimes, and he gets real frustrated with that. And so I want to be there for him and have grace for him, and show him that it's not okay to have, that behavior, but it is okay that we get upset sometimes. And here's how we need to start learning how to deal with that. Pause, take a breath, walk away, those types of things, those types of healthy tools, which for me, that's what led to drinking. That's what led to, the ability and the need to escape, because I didn't know how to deal with all those feelings of anger, frustration, sadness, guilt, like anything, even happiness. Like, let's just drink about it.
Yeah.
So
right.
I don't know, man. There's a lot of lessons that have came in cutting out alcohol out of my life that I've had to learn and continue to learn, in order to be a dad and a husband and all that. That's the most. So like, back to our original, like how we kind of started this, that's success to me. Like that situation yesterday or 2 days ago or whatever, as shitty as it was for a minute, like that's success. Like that's success as a dad for me. That's success as, my son, to see him like realize that dad's not perfect, and then also have an opportunity to say, I'm sorry too. Yeah. And then we're best buddies again, and we're back going to practice, and it was a great day, but like that to me is so important. And I think the older I get, like that's the success that I really want and strive for. Now don't get me wrong, I got a family to take care of, and there's other successful things that I want to do in business as well. So I don't want to make it sound all like, like it's like, oh, that's it. But like at the end of the day, if I was on my deathbed and someone was like, hey, success is, all the money and the houses and the business and, Sober Guy's the biggest podcast in the world, or like, is success like a great marriage, a great experience with your children, like your kids have gone on and had fruitful lives, and they're following God, and they're good human beings, and they help people, and they have kids that are like, man, all day long, that's going to be the success that I take.
Yeah, because any of this material shit, we ain't going to take it with us. Everything is, the only thing that's not for rent is our spirit.
That's it.
That's not really ours either. It's here to do and be of service. Like I'm with you. Like, hey, if I'm able to make millions of dollars, that's great and nice, especially if I did something good with it and totally. Of service and helped others. Like, okay, then cool. But otherwise, just to buy like for stuff, really?
Yeah. Come on. And I'm a firm believer too that God will provide. Like when we do the next right thing and we do what we're supposed to be doing, and we're putting one foot in front of the other, God will make those connections. Those things will come in our careers, in our businesses, in our even like fitness or things that we enjoy to do on the side. Like we want to, if it's trying to get better at something, or I think all that stuff will work itself out. The part that I would always get stuck in with that though was like, well, if that's the case, what? So does that mean I just sit on my ass and do nothing and everything will work out? Like, cause that's a common thought that I've had and people have asked too. And it's like, no, it doesn't mean that we're just lazy asses and we don't do anything. We can still set goals. We can still have aspirations to get to a certain point. But when it becomes like obsessive and the expectations like are exceeding the process, I guess, then that's an issue for me, And so I have to really, and it's what's funny, dude, is I'm kind of learning and talking about this right now in this moment and growing in it with you right now. Yeah. Like as we talk this out, this is a really great convo, I think, to have. Like it's because it's tough, dude. I mean, we're growing and we're learning every day, a little bit. And the day that stops, I might as well die anyways, because what's the point, right?
Well, and I think it's valuable to, if you look at people of whatever success range, I don't care if you're just starting out and you're in the upper elite 1%, is the people that remain successful in life, just period. And I'm talking, take out the monetary stuff. is because I continue to remain a student of craft, a student of life, of growth. And, really that's, again, the only thing that we get. This body's going to get older. Fads and trends are going to change, but cars break down, houses need repair, all that other stuff. But, if we have an indelible spirit to us to continue to grow and learn and be of service, it's kind of like, we can kind of step into anything, if we have the tools, and the importance of making amends. And, which is funny. Do you ever get this when you're talking to people that aren't in recovery and you're like, yeah, I had to make an amend to my son. And they're like, what the fuck is an amend? Well,
wait, what? Amends? Did you just knit something? Like, is that something that you knit? And like, what do you mean?
It's an apology, but better. That's the way I put it. But it's just these challenges. And for us in recovery, we've cleared a lot of shit just out of the way, but it doesn't negate the fact there's going to be more.
Yeah. It's funny too. Like I was just thinking about how you said, and that was really good what you said too, because it helped me recognize that, like when like Cash was going to be late or late. This goes for anything. We're late to church. We're late to an event. We're late wherever. Like I freak out. Well, come on, we gotta go. Like I like to be on time. I like to be early, and I am late sometimes. I think I was a little late today, as a matter of fact. A couple of minutes on this other podcast. It happens, and I've been able to come a long way in like being like giving myself grace, especially if I know that I'm doing something productive and I'm really doing the best that I can to be there on time. It's not really an issue for me. But like the stupid things, like, that what happened the other day, it always comes back. And I do believe everything comes back to fear. So it came back to the fear of what people would think because we're late, or because we're not there, or because we didn't show up, or because we did it wrong, or we didn't do it good enough. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of that stuff stems from all of that old BS and the way that I used to live my life. And so like I said this, I continue to say this, like we're in process. Like we're constantly in process. I'm still learning that. I've gotten much better than I was, 10 years ago. But like I still, just because I cut alcohol out of my life, I still have to deal with life, and I still have tendencies, and I still have things that I do, emotions and stuff that I'm learning how to like operate in. And it's tough some days, I mean, I wouldn't trade it for anything versus 10 years ago, of course, but a lot better, but it's still crazy,
Well, and I think it's just that the acceptance, I'm not invalidating emotions or people's emotions, but I'm concerned that so many people sit in them as if it is a constant, and they're just not. They're not. Where you go happy, sad, joyous, angry, these things come at different directions. And at times, our body will talk to us, someone that suffers from anxiety. It's like, why the hell am I anxious? I logically can't even think of why I'm anxious. And you just are. And so I think it's accepting that too, is that these things are going to come, they're going to go, and it's how you manage them, and it has a lot to do with attitude. Sure. But we're going to have it. I got pissy the other day because I'm a brilliant guy. I decided I was going to repaint the trim of my house in the 105 degree temperature. And then with our weird weather this last weekend, we got a little bit of sprinkles too. So I'm 20 feet up a ladder when rain starts coming down.
Oh my gosh. That sounds.
Yeah, well, it was joyous. It's the best, Shane. And so then coming inside, it's like, are you okay? I just need a little bit of space right now. Just need a little bit of space. I'll explain later. Just right now, just give me room.
I know, dude. And it's hard to give ourselves like the consciousness, number one, to do that. As a matter of fact, like I got irritated just a little bit ago. I was trying to help. We have a inside computer, like the homeschool computer, and my wife and kids use. And then I have a Mac laptop that I use. It's what I'm on right now. And my wife was having me help her upload some stuff for school. And like their Mac, I don't know what the deal is with it, but it's like different than my laptop. And it was pissing me off. Like I couldn't upload the thing. I was getting so irritated. I realized I get irritated with tech stuff a lot too. Sure. That kind of stuff starts to get to me a little bit. But like, you know, once again, like recognizing, why am I irritated right now? Let me just step outside for a minute. Let me take a quick little break, you know, and then I can kind of refocus and reset and go, hey, you're being stupid right now. Like, stop. Like, you don't need to do that. You know, the emotion, like separating that emotion sometimes is, you know, it's difficult. It could be difficult if we let it.
Yeah. What are some of the tools that are helpful for you to do so?
Well, I love to walk. Walking is good. I try to walk. I got to walk in this morning. I'll try to get one in a few times a week at night. And that's just like a form of like meditation for me. Today, actually, my wife walked with me before I started work today. So that was nice. We got to hang out, chat a little bit. But like praying and meditating. And people think like, oh, praying and meditating, I need to sit still for 30 minutes with my arms like this and my legs crossed and get into this deep meditation. Yeah, you can do that. That's awesome too. I mean, maybe that's real meditating, you know, however you want to look at it, but it doesn't have to be complicated is, I guess, what I'm trying to get at. Like I can stop at any time and take 30 seconds and just go, man, God, like, thank you. Thank you for this moment. Like, thank you for the blessings of my family. Thank you for my health. Thank you for my sobriety. So a lot of it is gratitude also. Like when I first wake up in the morning, man, you know, thank you for this day, God. Like I appreciate it. I love it. Thank you for my kids. Like just that mindset helps to set my day. Now, if it's in the moment of like getting pissed off, like we talked about the other day, you know, I think being able to stop and like take a breath, and you have to be conscious of the emotions that you're feeling in that moment, which is really hard to do sometimes when you're pissed. Mm-hmm. I'm getting better at it, but yeah, it's stopping, taking a breath, you know, walking away. Like you said, I'll be with you in a minute. Give me like 10, you know, and I'm trying to teach, that's what I'm trying to teach my son. Like, that's what I told him the other day. Like, hey, it's okay. If you start getting so mad, you say, Dad, I need a break for a minute. Or Mom, I need a break. I need 5 minutes, and go take a little walk, take a breath, you know, sit still for a minute. Trying to explain to him the difference between like emotion and then, you know, responses versus reactions too. Like a response, if I respond to something, that means that I've taken a moment to actually think about it and to actually feel it. Whereas a reaction is just an immediate like thing, you know what I mean? And that could be a burst of emotion. It could be, you know, yelling, crying, like whatever. That's an immediate reaction to something, you know? Yeah. So, and I'm not saying I'm not going to have reactions and stuff. I am. Some reactions are good. If someone throws a punch at me, I want to I'm going to dodge it. Right. Yeah. But like emotionally, you know, I continue to work on being able to kind of separate those two, I guess.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. And one of the things that was put to me was a gentleman has become a friend that I've known for a long time, but in mentor in ways, Sonny Mayo.
Oh yeah. I love Sonny, dude. Sonny's awesome, dude. I haven't talked to him in a minute.
When he's talking to me about, you know, meditation, he went, you know, that's great and good. You can do it in a quiet room. But I had an experience where there's construction outside my place and all this noise and everything that goes on. He goes, and that's in the moment where you're tested with it. Those are the moments that you have to be able to embrace, that you have to step into when there is all the noise and all the distraction. Yes, we all need our silent time, you know, no technology, no anything. We sit, breathe, focus on the body, but there's those times where we're being bombarded with BS that we have to really be able to, you know.
Yep. That's when the test comes in too. You just reminded me, I did like a 3-hour podcast one time with Sonny. And that's him. Yeah, we just talked forever. And as we're talking, like his like gardener people were outside with their lawnmowers and chainsaws, And so we were tested in that moment. I remember that, like, specifically, we're like, dude, really right now? Like, you're going to run the weed whacker? Come on, bro.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, we definitely, those are the times when it really does get put to the test, you know, and those are the times when it can be difficult. But if we have a practice in it, if we're able to stay conscious in it, then we got a way better shot, I think, at least of being able to get through it, you know, and some other thing. I wanted to ask you something too. How many episodes of Knockin' Doorz Down have you done?
Oh God. I want to say coming closer to 200.
Nice, dude. Nice.
Yeah.
So, like, from my perspective, if we cut this off right now and we just stopped recording and you never did a podcast ever again, bro, you would be so successful in the content, the time, the commitment, everything that you've put into this and continue to put into it that's gone out to the world. Think about how many lives that's impacted, bro. That, and I know you don't see it because I'm the same. I don't focus on that stuff because I don't want to, because I know where that leads to, and it leads to egos and it leads to all that crap that I don't want to deal with. And so my main goal is to put out great content out to the world, and then the world can just do whatever it wants with it. And hopefully it positively impacts some people. And so you've continued to do that too. And you continue to do that. But even if you stopped right now, bro, that's a huge success. You've left a mark on people's lives that you don't even know. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know why I just felt like I wanted to tell you that right now. Like, you know, if you ever do feel like that in the future, like since we're having this conversation, because I've had those days where I'm like, what is it all for?
Oh,
like,
yes.
I quit. Like, why do I even do this? And maybe one day I will stop, but that'll be the day when I'm not having fun anymore. As long as I'm having fun, I'm going to keep going. But dude, you're doing amazing stuff, bro. I just want you to know that, man.
Thank you. And right back, you're one of the OGs. You're one of the people when I started this, that it's kind of cool now to come and build a friendship, you know, later on. And that's been an amazing gift to Sobriety too. It's so many people that were indirect mentors and kind of modeling, ooh, I like the way they do that. That's really genuine, really authentic. And then being able to, you know, get conversation, and then some, you know, like friendship, like straight up friendships that I never would have thought that I would have had.
Well, yeah. I mean, imagine like all the people that we've met just by doing a podcast, just by saying, hey, I'm going to put this out in the world and see what happens. You know, like you create some new relationships, new friends, new opportunities. Like, I'm still, and I'll just speak this out right now. We talked a little bit about this, I think, after we recorded when you were on Sober Guy. Is my goal one day is to have a big sober conference with a bunch of podcasters. And I just like, I don't know how to do it. I'll just be 100% like whatever. Cause my mind tells me, well, you know, don't say that because you need to be the guy and you need to have all the things. And you should be able to do that. I really don't know. Like, I'm not good at that logistical type of stuff, you know, but I've envisioned this since I started Sober Guy, like just like different podcasters and different, not just podcasters, but different, just cool people that are really wanting to have some fun and serve the sober community and get a group of people together and have some entertainment and, you know, have like that thing. And I feel like sometimes when we just talk about stuff and we put it out there, like stuff happens, you know what I'm saying? Like, who knows? I don't know, but I'm not putting a bunch of pressure on myself to like make it happen, which I used to do. I don't try not to do that anymore because it doesn't work. At least it hasn't for me yet.
No. And it kind of just distracts you from the goal anyways at the end of the day. But it's ironic because I was talking to someone about you this morning about something along those lines, because I got my first paid speaking engagement. I'm going to Wisconsin.
Dude, congratulations,
bro.
That's awesome, man.
And then, you know, the location of it, I'm like, hey, I know someone you might want to reach out to who's in Madison. And they're like, oh, who? I'm like, Tom Farley, Chris Farley's brother. So now he's going. And he's going to be there. And then they guaranteed me I'd be doing, you know, hopefully some in front of people podcasting. So a lot of this for me is a real opportunity to see how it works, see how that can work. I know you and I've talked about some live stuff, which I also brought up to this individual of doing some stuff in LA and they were all in. And so,
Dude,
it really is. You have to put this good stuff out in the world. That's the only way it comes back. And a weird occurrence. Do you know Catherine Line by chance?
Catherine.
She's a recovering gambling addict, but she's been on the podcast before.
Doesn't sound familiar. Yeah.
We just developed a great friendship. Well, I keep this card in my wallet that Greg Champion, I think you've had Greg on, right?
I haven't.
Okay. Well, I'm going to connect you. You'll love Greg. Okay. But I went, he was my teacher, coach, whatever, to get my certification for recovery coaching. It's kind of, his program essentially. So it's this challenge of this card, you put 10 intentions on it, things. It could be as simple as you want this vacation or whatever it is. The other side is how many years and days you got left based upon when the average American male passes away. One of them on the front was different guests. One of those guests was Alonzo Bowden, stand-up comedian, long-term recovery.
Yeah.
Became a fan of his. She didn't know this. I didn't tell anyone this.
Yeah.
She emails me one day and goes, "Hey, I was telling this friend of mine about the podcasts you do, and he wants to do them both. Why don't we start with the pain one? Do you know who the comedian Alonzo Bowden is?" I'm like, "Are you fucking serious? Like, do you realize this is funny? On this? Yeah, it was on this card that you've never seen, that I've never told anyone. It was on it." And it's like, okay, these strange things start to happen.
Write it out, speak it out, act it out, whatever. But like, yeah, when we start, I don't know what it is, but we open something up when we verbalize, when we write, when we envision. And I think it's an important thing to be able to still do. And that's what always get me caught up between like envisioning, having goals, and then, like I was saying before, just do the next right thing. So it's like, how do we have goals, visions, and dreams, but not have expectations? I think that's kind of the secret, maybe some of the secret sauce, at least for me, that I've came to understand. It's like, I can have these goals, and sometimes those things, they don't work out exactly how I pictured them, but they always seem to work out for the most part. It might just be a little different than I see it. But I do know that expectations are my worst enemy. Every time I set expectations for certain things, either it doesn't happen or it doesn't work out like I expected it to, which leads to disappointment, that whole list of things. So I just really try to like limit, those, like the expectations of everything, and just keep putting out good stuff, I guess, at least when it comes to this stuff.
And you do, man. And likewise, you help a lot more people than you know. And it is always rewarding, for guys like us when someone does reach out and say thank you. I got a buddy now that if I go to, I believe he's in Southern Australia, I have a place to stay.
Yeah.
Just because it was like, hey, I stumbled on this episode with, I think it was Edward Furlong, if I remember. And he's like, I ended up flushing my pills. As I recall, that's what he told me. But he was definitely, I believe, an opioid addict. And you just don't know. But when we do get it here, it's like, wow, okay, that's the stuff that fuels me to keep going.
Oh, totally.
Beyond the download numbers or whatever it is.
Edward Furlong was from American History X, Terminator, right?
Yep.
Oh, yeah, dude. I love those movies. Those are both movies. He's a great actor too.
Yeah. And he was a really open and honest person. Oh, yeah, it's beautiful. But that's the way lots of us get. We just got to be our genuine, authentic self. And I think I want to jump back to, that triggered what I was going to ask you about, is that struggle with authenticity when it comes to emotions too, because along the same lines of, acting, reacting, or whatever it is, we can often hand that over to somebody else to control. And I know for me, in becoming more genuine, authentic, and creating boundaries, that's been a huge thing that I have to do, because there's certain people that they're in my life, they have to be for now, that just can pull at an emotion with me. They just know the right thing. They know how to kick me in the balls from all angles.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, that's a tough one too, because the first thing I think of is Don Miguel Ruiz, the 4 Agreements. I don't know if you've read that before, but I can't remember which one it is, if it's number 2, which agreement it is, but it's don't take things personal. Yeah, I think especially those who know us best, like who know what kind of triggers us or what pisses us off or how they can get under our skin. Um, you know, I don't feel like there's like a magic answer to it either. Like, cause I feel like I think it's very normal and natural for that to happen, like to get upset or to get like, especially for someone who knows us almost better than we know ourselves sometimes. What I've been trying to do lately with that, a lot of this too will be with my wife, like just stuff. And it's usually stupid stuff too, but like we know each other better than, whatever. And I can tend to take things a little bit personal sometimes. She's a busy woman. You know what I mean? She works part-time. She is taking care of the kids. She homeschools. She's an emotional human being, an emotional woman, like most are. And so trying to understand her, it's like the more I try to understand her, the less I do. But what I do understand, and we've been married for, gosh, what is this, 17 years or something now? Something like that.
Shane, you better remember that shit. Don't tell the missus to listen to this one.
Yeah. Man, she don't even remember my birthday still someday. I mean, she'll remember, but the date, she'll be like, "It's your birthday, July 17th." I'm like, no, you're a couple days off there, but story. But I just, man, I can really tend to take stuff personal sometimes. And, back to, I think that was earlier in our conversation, I was talking about, like going back to the root cause of things, and that stems from my childhood. Like I was in a chaotic home. Everything had to be perfect. Like if you messed up, you got yelled at. And so like I took stuff very hard, if someone was upset with me or said something to me. And so some of those traits and stuff are still definitely there. And man, like, yeah, it can be tough sometimes, to deal with that kind of stuff. And maybe that's where it comes in, like taking a break, taking a walk, taking a breath, kind of back to what we were saying. But it also comes back to just being conscious of it. Okay, this person is obviously trying to get under my skin right now.
Which I just love.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Because what your reaction is you want to grab them and choke them. Like, but like, obviously we can't do that. Or we could, but we probably shouldn't because we don't want to, end up in prison. But
you and I already know how uncomfortable handcuffs are. So let's, we're not going to go that road again. I
don't want to do that. So the better route would be to recognize that, like, whatever they said, like for instance, my wife says something, it's like, okay, that just pissed me off, but you know what? Is it worth, number one, getting in an argument over? And number two, is it really personal to me? Or is she having a tough day today? Is she really stressed out right now? Did something happen at work where she's upset? And so she just made a smart comment. It really has nothing to do with me. So sometimes that can really help in those times, but that's a really tough one, dude. That's a really tough one. And it all comes back to being able to handle emotion, dude. Like, man, it's crazy.
Well, and it's hard to ask someone when there is a lashing out or whatever it is, like, hey, what's going on? Because sometimes you're going to have people, they don't know, they won't know, and they're not going to tell you. You just, whatever the scenario is, it's just, sometimes it is how it is. That's what it's going to be. And what are you going to do? I don't know. But you mentioned something that really resonated with me about with childhood and that perfection thing. It made me think of when I was a kid, and I, shared on your podcast, my dad, addict. And when he owned all of his big rig company and his toolbox, like everyone knew everything had to be cleaned, put back where it was. I didn't do that one time, got my ass chewed. You know what happened? As a kid that loved to tinker, and like I took apart like old school VCR, fixed it when I was like 9-10 years old. I never touched those tools again. I just stopped tinkering. Man. And so this interest of me went away, and I've including my dad and I've talked about that, and he's made an amends, apologized. But it goes to show, like you talking with your son in this scenario you shared at the top, is anything less than loving is abusive. And I don't mean this like disciplining your kids is loving. Don't mistake what I'm saying, people. You don't let them just run all over. I don't want to tell them they're not being a good human right now. No, it's very unloving to not tell them, because at the end of the day, when it comes to parenting, don't let them do anything that would make you not love your kids or like them. It's like,
totally,
you got to check it. So, that really resonated with me, is like, wow, I hadn't thought about that in a long time, that it was like, I just stopped doing that thing. And that sucks, because I pulled back that potential bond with my dad to like, hey, I got to replace the valves on this Peterbilt. Come help me. No, that shit went away just like that.
So it's like we have to allow space for the people we love to make mistakes too. It's like we're allowed to make mistakes, because I'm guilty of that sometimes too, even around the house. Like and that comes from the same way. Grew up the same way. There's crumbs on the counter. Why is there crumbs on the counter? Why? What? And I'm not saying like it's a free pass, just go be a slob. Like, but like, like it was like overly, and so. As much as I didn't like that as a kid, I found that I can tend to be like that sometimes at home too. Like overly anal about stuff like in its place and like where it goes and where it should be. And like I'm learning like I have to let my kids mess up sometimes. You know what I mean? Like they're gonna mess up, like, and that's okay. And that's really hard for me to do, because I do kind of try to follow that line of like perfectionism almost, and it's an issue sometimes. It can be tough. Like, and my wife is sure to call me out on it every time. So not worry about that, guys. In the best way possible, of course. But like, I think that's one of the cool things. It's like, I don't have to take that personal. I can go, okay, yeah, you're being a little bit overly whatever right now. Like, knock it off and check yourself. Like, you can do better. You know what I'm saying? Instead of like beating myself up over it, taking it all personal, getting pissed off.
Oh yeah.
I need to do that.
No, I've definitely struggled with that, and the perfectionist mentality, which has actually led me to quit before I ever started in so many things. And I stole this from you, but I've used it 3 times, so it's mine now. Is when we were talking, I think it was on the Pain podcast, about everyone's going to suck at something when they first start. Embrace the suck,
Suck. Yep. And just for the record too, I think I heard that. I don't know if it was Jocko Willing, or it was definitely a Navy SEAL guy or a military guy, or a video or something. I had watched it at one point, and I said, man, that's just like, it's the best, because as dudes, we don't want to suck at stuff, but that also, like you said, it limits us from new opportunities and trying new things, because we don't want to suck. So we just never do anything. I don't want to live my life like that. I want to try new stuff if it interests me, So I'll just embrace it and suck for a minute. And if it's something I really like, I'll continue at it. And then eventually I won't suck at it anymore. I won't be the new guy.
Exactly.
That goes for sobriety too. Like someone out there who's trying to quit drinking. Like, yeah, you're going to be the new sober person at your next event, or at your family get together, or a night out for dinner with some friends or whatever. But like, embrace that. Like, it's going to be a little awkward. It might be a little uncomfortable, but get over it. If you really want to quit, then you're going to go through some of that, and it's going to test you, but you can put those tools in place, which, Jason, your podcast, my podcast, all kinds of other resources out there that you can find to, learn some of those and enjoy it. Cause in a couple months, like, you won't be the new person who's sober. And then before you know it, you'll have one of your homies or one of your family members are going, hey, man, you quit drinking 3 months ago? Man, how is that going? And how do you do that? And then you're not the new guy anymore. Now you're helping someone else. And it's empowering you to continue to go down that same path of not drinking anymore. Yeah. And take that same concept and apply it to anything that you do. It works.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, we're you and me are examples of that. Like, and it just takes time, and don't measure your time on somebody else's time either,
Yep.
I mean, don't ever sit there and, wow, this guy 32 years. I don't know if I can do that. No. We're only asking you a 24-hour cycle here.
Yep.
That's it.
That's it.
And that's not an AA or an NA thing. That's a human thing. That's a biology. That's a universe, this mystical, wonderful thing, this marble that we've been put on thing in this mysterious galaxy, in this very mysterious life. So 24 hours, that's all we're saying here. If people want to know more about the podcast, what you're doing, your coaching, all that, where can they find you?
Yeah, the best place, we can follow us on Instagram at That Sober Guy Podcast. We have a great men's group on the Locals platform, and That Sober Guy men's group. But you can get all of the resources, the 30-day Quit Drinking Dude Challenge, more podcasts, all if you go to thatsoberguy.com. We have a contact form there if you want to reach out. But I always try to respond on Instagram as well at That Sober Guy Podcast. Man, thanks so much for having me on today, bro. I really enjoyed. Like, I don't. One thing I like about when we chat too is, a lot of podcasts are set up where it's like, tell your story and like you go. It's almost like, by the way, at all. Like I got to tell my story on what's it, guys? Gary, the Begin Again podcast, new podcast, great dude. Okay. But I got to share a little bit on his show, and it was awesome, man. But what I enjoy about your show and when we chat too is like we just get to shoot the shit for a while and just talk. And this was like, guys, we had no notes here. I mean, I know I did. I don't think you did either. We just started talking, and those organic conversations that are real and authentic, man. I really enjoy having those, and I just appreciate the work you're doing, and keep it up, man. You're doing a great job, and thanks so much for having me on.
Yeah, likewise. And we ain't done yet, Shane, because you don't think that I did random questions. We're gonna at least get those in there, okay? Totally. And then you get the Jerry Springer moment of the final thought. But thank you for that, and I resonate that back to you, seriously. And I look forward. I believe and I have faith you and I have more work to do together to help people. So,
agreed.
All right, shits and giggles stuff. You write that book, you get it finished. They want to license it for a movie or TV show. Who do you want to play adult you?
Oh, adult me.
And I'm already booked, so I can't do it.
Wait, are you sure, man? You were my first. All
right.
Man, adult me. Oh gosh, that's a tough one. Who is okay? Wait, so say that one more time. The book, it's a book. So my story, basically.
Yep, gets licensed to become a movie or a TV show. Who would you want to play you?
I'm gonna go with. Oh man, I don't know. Can we come back to that one?
Sure.
Hard. I don't know why. I'm totally drawing a blank on that one. Thinking it.
Dinner with one person, living or not. Who would they be and why?
One person, living or not. I would love to have dinner with Johnny Cash. That would probably be one of the most amazing things possible. Yeah, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
Love that dude. Love his music. Like his life story was amazing. Just a huge inspiration for me as a kid. Obviously, my kid's name is Cash. So yeah, pretty awesome.
Yeah, I forgot to tell you, my son's middle name is Cash for that same reason. So,
is it really? Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you told me that.
It was going to be his name, and then we changed it after he's born. It's like, nah, it looks more like a middle name. You're on a deserted island. You have one music artist's greatest hits in one movie. What are they?
Oh, man. So right now, if I was on a deserted island and had one music artist's greatest hits, it'd probably be probably Bob Marley. I love some reggae all day, especially being on an island. And so I think I could vibe on that nonstop. And then movie, gosh, that's a tough one because there's a lot of movies that I like, but I'm going to go with Breakfast Club, dude. One of my all-time favorites, cult classic, just a great movie. And I really love that movie, that whole synopsis. And John Hughes is just a great, writer, producer, and just some great movies in his library too. So
yeah, that movie.
I'll add Home Alone or Christmas Vacation in there because I'm a huge Christmas guy. But
yeah. No, that movie, it's got a timelessness to it of people cutting out their judgment of, until you really get down and get to know someone and something, can't judge them. But last book that you read on purpose, and what did you get from it?
Oh, last book I read on purpose. Man, what was I was just reading. Well, where did it go? It's by Stanton Peele. I'm actually not finished with it yet. I think I'm about halfway through. It's the seven I should say seven tips or 7 steps to beating addiction. It's just real interesting. He also has that's why I was looking back here. He also has the Diseasing of America. It's a very different take on recovery and the recovery industry, and it gives a lot of different perspectives on the thought that addiction is a disease and how that plays into the recovery industry and how that plays into how we look at recovery from different perspectives. So really interesting stuff. It's pretty controversial. There's some things that I really agree with, and there's some things that I don't agree with. And I think more or less what I would say to that is I think that's so important. I think that we as people, as human beings, whether we're talking recovery, whatever we're talking about, world issues, views, we need to be able to critically think and not shut other people down just because their perspective is different, just because they have a different opinion. We need to be conversating about this stuff respectfully, and then being able to come to a conclusion based on evidence, facts, experience, versus just on saying, this is the only way, and if you don't do it like this, you're this, that, or the other. So yeah, like Stanton Peele, definitely a controversial dude. A lot of people in the recovery industry don't care for him, but his work has came a long way. I think the first book he wrote actually was called Love and Addiction. It was like 1978 or something. And I haven't read that one yet, by the way. It's probably on my list, I think. But yeah, anyways, long-winded answer, but yeah, definitely some interesting stuff in there. I would recommend it just for a different perspective on addiction.
Yeah, no, I'll check him out. I wasn't aware of him until now. So definitely some, and I agree with you. I think we need to embrace conflict a little bit more, and people hear that word, it's like, but embracing conflict is better than continuing to sit in the de-evolving bullshit. It just is, because, those feelings suck. And I didn't get sober to not process and get through those things, for anyone, that's part of that being authentic. But anyways, floor is yours. Anything you want to drop for maybe someone that's struggling, maybe they got a loved one that's struggling, or just something recently that you've been stewing on?
Yeah. So real quick, I'm going to say, and this is on a whim, but I love Chevy Chase. So if Chevy Chase could play me in that movie, I'll just go ahead and roll with that. I want young Chevy Chase though, with like the Bears hat from Christmas Vacation. Like, that's kind of how I envision him, like in that time frame, one of my favorite movies. So we probably add a little comedy aspect to the seriousness of some of the book or the life story there by having him do that. So that'd be awesome.
Perfect.
Yeah. I guess I'll just leave with, you're not alone out there. If you're struggling, if you're going through something, everything's impermanent, and here's, I guess one thing I'll share is I have a friend right now, who has an amazing family, and he's in, he has a really high stress, job, and it's taken a toll on him. And he's decided that he's going to leave his family, and none of us really quite get it. And I haven't been able to talk to him in the depth that I'd like to talk to him. But one of the things that I plan on saying to him and want to say to him is, the decisions you make now that are impermanent, the decisions you make now on the feelings that you're having that are impermanent will affect you for the rest of your life, and they'll affect your family's life. So everything's impermanent. Everything's going to change. The good times, the bad times, it's never going to stay the same. So embrace the good times, live in the moment, enjoy your family, enjoy your friends, be kind, be soft-hearted as much as you can. At the same time, stand up for yourself. Don't let people take advantage of you by any means. But just know that those bad times, if you're going through those right now, they will pass. This too shall pass. Like, you will get through it. Don't give up, stay moving forward. And I promise you there's a light at the end of the tunnel. I think it's Isaiah 9:8. Those who've walked in the greatest darkness have seen the light. You will see a light one day. I promise. You just got to hang in there. So if you need anything, you can always reach out to Sober Guy and our platform. And of course, I know, Jason, you're always open and talking to folks all the time. So there's lots of resources and people who care about you out there. So thanks, man.
Thank you. This is the Knockin' Doorz Down podcast, featuring celebrities, experts, and everyday people who have overcome adversities, including addiction, mental health, and trauma, to live purposeful lives. And that's what Knockin' Doorz Down is all about.